This is Let's Talk Big with Jane Berger and Jen Hazel. The Owens Community College Campus Read is taking place now and throughout the semester with the goal of bringing awareness of different perspectives through books. The Campus Read book is the New York Times bestseller, Tru Biz by Sara Novic. Tru Biz is a story of sign language and lip reading, cochlear implants and civil rights, isolation and injustice, first love and loss, and above all, great persistence, daring, and joy. Now, sharing passages, topics, and events related to the book is Owens Community College Director of Library Services, Jane Berger, and Professor of English, Jen Hazel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jen Hazel, and I have with me
Jane Berger.
And we have back again the third J today.
Joe Duda, yeah.
Joe, thanks for being back with us.
Of course.
Jane, my favorite line.
Do I have a passage? Why, yes, I do.
All right.
From our favorite book this year, Tru Biz, Sara Novic. If you don't have it, get it. All right. Page 74. This is just a short, quick one, but I think it's packed with a lot of goods. This is Austin speaking, who is one of Charlie's classmates at the residential school for the deaf. Austin was incredulous that parents could have forgotten to teach their child basic signs about feeling sick, ones he was sure he'd always known. It wasn't until later he learned that ASL had likely been withheld intentionally, an attempt to motivate speech. Sign language had been so thoroughly stigmatized that in trying to avoid it, parents had unknowingly opted for a modern version of institutionalization, locking their children away in their own minds. I think that's like pretty heavy.
Yeah.
To continue, Austin said, this sounded cruel enough to be against the law, but there were a lot of things about the hearing world that made no sense to him. So here he is, someone, his family is sort of like the royalty of the residential school, because he comes from a long line of deaf folks. So, and proud of it. I mean, this is who they are. And so the thought to him that Charlie had been kind of robbed essentially of learning how to sign, and like he said, just basic signs like I don't feel well, or help me, I'm hungry. I mean, just, simple things just blew his mind. And to his way of thinking, and maybe a perspective from the philosophy angle, is just ridiculous, and in his way of thinking should be really against the law to have withheld that type of opportunity for your child. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that this is a great example of how, we had this saying like sticks and stones, right?
Yes.
But this is actually a great example of words and ideas being detrimental. Look, my prejudice made it so that you don't have a way to say I need help. Forget about sticks and stones, it can kill you, right?
Right.
And we have Austin, it's another kind of like really quick, sneaky passage, but it's like Austin, at first he's high and mighty, right? He thinks like, oh, it's your fault, right? But then it's pointed out to him like that something atrocious had been done, and it's just how powerful that is it really moves me. I feel for that, because like how can you fight such a system, right?
Right, and it goes back to, I'm thinking a couple weeks ago, we did a passage where what we were talking about was how you couldn't think if you didn't have a language, like wasn't sure how you would think.
Yes.
And really what that Charlie's parents and other parents don't realize is by doing that, they're cutting their child off from a whole like support system and a way to like not only communicate but think.
Right.
So to Austin, because he's been in a supportive system, this seems like unfathomable to him.
It is.
That he would not have, that someone would not give Charlie these things to be able to.
Yeah, that's a tool for
exist.
her. Yep.
Yeah.
So playing the devil's advocate, which Jen's been around me long enough to know that I do this all the time. Both sides are so charged because they both feel so strongly about their positions, and rightly so. So from the parents' perspective, particularly Charlie's mom, who really has pushed her to utilize this cochlear implant that she has had. And she just feels that, Charlie is just not giving it a fair shot, not trying her best. So, this is why it's not working well, because she's just, not trying. In her mom's way of thinking, she's doing the best for her child. What we hearing people, and I speak for myself, what I think is that we really don't remember or bring it to the surface of our thought process is that they're okay. That's who she is, and it's okay, and we need to accept that. And I do get, I do want, what's best for my kids. If I had a child who didn't hear, would I, push for a cochlear implant thinking that this is, the best way to go? I really hope that well, now I know.
Well, that's it. Now you know.
Yes.
It's that thing of knowledge acquisition.
Yes.
So for example, we know these things because we have a very strong American Sign Language program here. We have interpreters here. So we've learned this. This is our big read. We know this information, but one of the things I think we've talked about in book club and when we've had some of the instructor trainings and stuff
Right.
that we've talked about, or workshops that we've talked about, is this: you only know what you know. And what happens when someone comes in and says your child isn't hearing, they
Right.
say these are the things we can do for them. It's not like American Sign Language is way up there on it
Right.
in our system from what we have gathered
Correct.
from studying this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, it is just, it's a tough, it's a tough topic because both sides are doing the best, I want the best.
Right.
But, what I think in trying to achieve the best, from a parental's point of view, we aren't necessarily hearing, which is ironic, what our child who can't hear is saying. And I think it's a great message for all parents, no matter really what the topic is, that we really need to open our minds and listen and be open to what someone else is trying to tell us. While we may be really focused in on what we think we know to be best, maybe it isn't. And that's hard and humbling. And, certainly, I'm an adult, you're a child, I know more.
Maybe.
But yes, exactly, that's not necessarily true, so.
Joe?
Yeah, I think we have to really challenge what it is to mean the best, and we do this in philosophy of law. It's like, I think I know best, but I don't acknowledge my own blinders. And hearing, in one perspective, is a blinder. You think there's only one pathway forward.
Yep.
And I think with these kinds of questions, we have to ask ourselves, I want the best for my child, but at what cost? Am I really willing to take away their ability to sign, hey, I need help?
Right.
And so I think there's a limit to these sorts of things, and there needs to be a bit more compromise instead of driving force.
Yeah.
Right, because what happens if they're in a car accident and something happens with the cochlear implant? They cannot communicate.
Right. Yeah, there isn't any other option.
Right, and one thing, and I talk about this, I haven't talked about it from time to time. My son is level 3 autistic, so he's nonverbal. He has an AAC device, which is for anyone who is new to listening. So he communicates through this device using pictures that form into words until he has conversations with us. But if he was in a car accident and something happened and that moved, he also can sign to be able to communicate, because he wouldn't if someone came to get him. And if he was signing, they would at least understand, okay, there is a communication barrier, right? Even if someone wasn't there.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I think that in itself is you have to think about all
Right.
those angles to what it is. And the other thing is, my kids love water parks. And Jane, I know we've talked about this before. You're not taking your AAC device in the water park with you, right?
Right.
Right.
I mean, and again, don't think about that because I'm not in that position. That's not my experience. But I'm so glad that I've had my eyes opened. I'm like, oh, what a great point. In an emergency, wouldn't have thought about that. Wouldn't have thought that you need that backup because of course, you've got a cochlear implant, you've got a device, you should be golden. But we all know that technology fails. So.
Right, absolutely. So, I love talking about these stories today. And speaking of stories,
We've got some good ones.
we do. Next Thursday, we have the Human Library, which is, I would ask you, Jane, to give a summary of it, but you're not going to give a short summary of it. So maybe I'll just
It's
give
great,
a short
just
summary.
come.
It's exactly what you think it would be. It's humans as books. Joe, hopefully you'll be able to stop by. It is 9:30 to 11:30 in Heritage Hall, 123, or 123, whichever you prefer, to be able to see and learn about lots of different stories, which is really what we do here with Let's Talk Big and the Big Read is we like to hear about stories, we talk about stories, we talk about people's lives and perspectives, because in knowing that, that's how we learn more about ourselves.
Right.
So that's going to do it for us today. We will be wrapping up on behalf of myself, Jen, Jane, and our third J again today, Joe. Keep talking big.
Catch Let's Talk Big on Outcast OCCR Owens Community College Radio every Thursday at 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 7 p.m., and 10 p.m., and at various times throughout the week. Or listen anytime on the Outcom RSS feed. Visit owensoutcom.com for the link. That's Outcome with 2 M's. owensoutcom.com for Let's Talk Big.